Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Shadow Generation. So after we got our little emblem thingy from Rail Canyon, it's time for more Radical Highway. Black Doom's favorite stage, apparently.
Why Radical Highway?
We've asked this question before. On a conceptual level, I kind of like the inversion of it. With Sonic, we started in his first ever level, Green Hill Zone, It's a bit tired at this point, but it's a good place to start this particular kind of concept. With Shadow, we end on his first level, which is neat. It's just weird how it's implemented in the story.
Oh yeah.
I also think it is definitely the most full and complete version of the stage compared to like all the little teasers we've gotten throughout the entire game. At the same time, we've gotten so many teasers and transitions into Radical Highway that a part of it did lose its appeal for me, despite getting like the Doomwing power up. I think, as we were talking about earlier, I think maybe it would have been better to not just throw in Radical Highway, but maybe like Westopolis or some other like city-centric Shadow the Hedgehog level.
Yeah.
Because again, I find it very strange that for what's essentially a sequel to that game, story-wise, the game that it acts as the catalyst for it gets little representation, like outside of the main villain and like the Black Arms.
I mean, the Black Arms are barely even in the game, though. Like, there's a few
sure
of them
enough.
that pop up. And that's probably because there's no Shadow the Hedgehog level. So they don't have anywhere to show up, really.
I mean, okay. But, they could have still had Radical Highway be the ending level if they had a Shadow the Hedgehog level somewhere in the middle, But, the Doomwing. Can we discuss the Doomwing? Just, like, as a concept?
I don't mind it. Like, I mean, what are you getting at specifically?
It's the edgiest motherfucking thing, and it's just like,
He's a dark angel of light, but also of darkness.
Shadow looks like the cover to a metal album, and it's great, but it's also, like, hilarious. Like, they're really making fun of Shadow the Hedgehog when they do this, but also playing it straight.
Like, okay, so Shadow, but I mean, to be fair, Shadow's kind of a trope that exists in that realm anyway. Like, he's the Venom of Sonic the Hedgehog, the
Vegeta.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's more Vegeta than Venom, but
Venom's a dark alter of the main character who's bigger and stronger and cooler, but also loses to the main character because of reasons. Seems pretty Venom to me. I don't know about you guys.
Venom is also just, I mean, it starts as Spider-Man himself and breaks off, so it's more of a Dark Link. In the case of Shadow sort of looks like Sonic. He's the same species and all, but he's also a different character that comes from a different place and has his own different set of motivations, and is just sort of a rival because their stories threw them together into conflict,
I mean, he also has this is also where being a video game comes in, where his powers aesthetically are very different, but in terms of function, he feels just like Sonic to play.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah, whereas, Venom's powers in the comic books are similar to Spider-Man's, but there's twists and mirrors and alterations to them. In terms of Shadow, like, yes, he can teleport and he can throw Chaos Spears, but it doesn't really matter because in terms of gameplay, in every way that matters, he is Sonic.
To be fair, a lot of that was just Sonic Adventure 2's design symmetry being a bit lazy, in the same way that Rouge playing exactly like Knuckles and Tails playing exactly like Eggman was a bit lazy.
So, real quick, and correct me if I'm wrong, I know like the history of Shadow goes like over 20 years at this point.
Oh yeah, you could play as who's its face in this game with the who looks somehow even edgier.
Have we seen Shadow genuinely smile that wasn't like a sneer or a smirk?
Ever?
There's definitely a couple of him, like, doing like the kind of thing.
Well,
in,
yeah,
like,
a confident sort of chuckle or smirk came up, but I don't think he's ever had a good-natured smile. At least not in any of the games, and probably not even in Sonic X.
Yeah, if you didn't specify sneer, I could give you dozens of sneers.
Yeah.
He had a sneer in Sonic Forces at one point.
Yeah,
but
like a genuine, honest-to-God, good-natured smile that he gave Maria in the cutscene beforehand.
I would be surprised if it ever even happened in the Archie comics. But yeah, this might be.
There is one frame in Sonic X where Chris Thorndike hugs Shadow, and he has this look of absolute fear and panic.
Oh no, a small child.
Wonder what's going on there.
I'd be afraid of Chris Thorndike if he came close to me.
I saved it. I'll put it in the Discord right now. Just a second.
Well, Chris Thorndike was the thing that was supposed to remind him of Maria in that continuity. So.
Right.
So
like, thematically, I see what they were going, but it's also just funny to think of outside of the context.
So this is interesting in that this is the first time I can remember where they've, like, pulled level design pretty much straight from the original game. I could be wrong, like, because especially with some of the later games, I don't know them as well. But the opening to the stage is literally the exact same as it is on SA2.
Speed Highway in Sonic Generations essentially started the same.
I'm talking about in this.
Oh, in this game specifically. Okay.
Yeah.
I just had a eureka moment in my brain that was prompted entirely by thinking about Sonic Adventure 2 at all in the context of our Sonic X tangent there. It just occurred to me that, how earlier I said that because Gerald experienced this game, his actions in the previous games, it might make a little bit more sense. It always kind of like unsettled me that Gerald was willing to basically hypnotize Shadow into doing genocide for him. That was the plot of Sonic Adventure 2, right? His memories were fiddled with. Somehow by Gerald.
When do they establish that his memories were fiddled with? Oh wait, no, during his big monologue. He's like, I made Shadow pure.
Like I said before, Sonic Adventure 2 was fucking terrible at conveyance, but it was awkward to me that Gerald was willing to do that, considering he seemed to genuinely care about Shadow. When we see him in his more good-natured recording in Shadow the Hedgehog, and then it occurred to me. It's so interesting. One second. It occurred to me that if Gerald remembers this, he might, after he goes insane, resent Shadow for not telling him exactly what happened, even though he was the one who told Shadow not to do that. Because insanity is not rational, obviously. So, what if the events of this game are the reason Sonic Adventure 2 even happened?
Whoa.
I mean, because, you may have something going there, because it's not as if when timer's restored, like, your memory's wiped. Like, it's not an 06 thing.
Yeah, there's absolutely no sign that any of the other characters forgot this happened.
Yeah.
We know from Forces that Sonic didn't.
Yeah, and Gerald and Maria are heading, like, a spoiler warning, at the end of this game, they're going back to their timeline. They're leaving with the knowledge of what happened here and how Shadow develops as a character, which I don't think is going to mean anything in terms of, like, how you can effectively rewrite Sonic Adventure 2 for a possible remake. I think of future games, because of aspects that we learn by reading those journals that, we know
that's what I was going to bring up.
Yeah, we know that Eggman has not only a father but an uncle, and Maria has a little sister. So who's to say that after the events of this game, they get in contact with those folks? Like, listen, if something should happen to us, we need you to keep an eye on Shadow, on that sort of thing.
The other thing that I find a little bit interesting, even if it's not as earth-shaking, is it also adds a bit of context to Maria's faith that Shadow could protect everyone, because she saw him being the big goddamn hero in this game,
Yeah.
How old is Maria supposed to be? Like, I always thought she was, like, 12, was my...
I got, like, similar age of, like, Amy.
She's young, but not super young. Like,
Yeah.
When Japanese writers want you to write someone as super young because then you get Maria Renard.
That's why I always, because she seemed old enough in this game to, she's more headcanon,
she's
sort of.
smart. She's smart. She's put together. At least 10, maybe 12, 13, possibly.
The short all gave me the impression that Maria was old enough to understand that she was gonna die, and was somewhat okay with that. And by die I mean to her illness. I don't know if she was okay with being shot by trained soldiers.
This shortcut sucks.
Probably not. Yeah, it should be emphasized that you are automatically put into a slide here, and you have to maneuver Shadow through the laser gates or alternate pathways, and your jump is limited by doing it. Because I know it's he's why isn't he just double dumping? You can't.
Yeah.
You are locked to this very short hop.
It's fucking unwieldy.
It's really weird.
It's especially weird because there's another level half a game over where Sonic just runs flat out down a building and he can jump just fine.
Yeah, but this one has glowy bits on it. It's different.
No, it's a legitimate skill issue on Shadow's part.
Well, air shoes.
Some ultimate life form.
I like how you can homing attack through the enemy's projectile attack there. It's pretty cool.
So can you start, I know you need 50 rings, but can you start flying basically whenever the hell you want?
Yes.
Otherwise?
You can. Okay. There are alternate pathways in the sky for you to have Doom Wings pretty much throughout the entire stage.
They even
neat.
Differentiate the levels by score. When you go to replay levels, they give you the option to do it with the Doom Wings and without the Doom Wings, and they count as their own scoreboard.
Oh, yes. Really?
It's kind of weird that the Doom Wings essentially count as Shadow's super form here.
A little bit, yeah.
Honestly, and maybe this is the inner 13-year-old in me, this is cooler than just going supersonic.
I was going to ask, do you like Doom Shadow more than just regular Super Shadow?
Well, the thing about it is that, going super, me, this is cooler in a couple reasons. One, because you're not just invincible.
You're basically invincible, so.
Oh, okay. Well, then maybe not. But the idea is, to me, it's a more drastic transformation, which differentiates him to me more than Sonic. Which I don't know. The fact that there was a Super Shadow, but not a Super everybody else.
Oh God! I just realized what these stupid wings remind me of. Prototype.
Oh, they do look like Prototype. Oh, yeah.
Oh man. Okay. Right.
Actually, we probably should have mentioned that between parts we ate Gareth.
Yeah, he
went to get his penis reducted.
Yeah,
That's right.
he told us to tell you he went to get his penis reducted. Now, I don't know how much there is to reduce.
Reducted? Look, reducted.
He's gonna have fun rewatching this.
Yeah, he's gonna fuck you up.
He also wanted you to know that if you own Glover for the PlayStation 1, that you're a fucking idiot. You didn't mention the N64 version though, so you're probably good.
I mean, that's fair, I think.
Ted, you're gonna walk out one night on a stormy night, and in the distance under a street light, you're just gonna see Gareth staring daggers at you.
It's what's gonna happen is that I'm gonna be walking and it's raining, right, and it's dark, and then the lightning's gonna flash, and I'm gonna see his outline for a second, and then it's gonna disappear.
I don't know how he does that, but
we mentioned earlier about the lack of Shadow the Hedgehog representation, but something about the level design of that last segment that we just went through reminds me a lot of Shadow the Hedgehog level design. Specifically,
hey, they mentioned the motorcycle just there, which I mean, listen, the fact that Shadow loves motorcycles, no, that's where he smiles. He smiles when he in the Sonic Archie comments when he's talking about how he loves his motorcycle. All right, Shadow.
I mean, the Shadow, the skydiving segments are obviously callbacks to Westopolis' opening, but the bit where you were running along the highway and there were two tiers, one on each side, and it was honestly a pretty blandly designed segment. That reminds me of the Sky City level from early on in Shadow the Hedgehog, in the middle path specifically, I think.
Yeah. If we're talking about Sonic games that, maybe could use a remake but don't necessarily deserve one, I think Shadow the Hedgehog has more to offer than Sonic 06. At least in terms of level motifs. Because I find there's a lot of really
get in touch with the
ones.
Need for Speed team. Get them to fix the vehicles like they fixed the Mass Effect Moon Buggy, and it'll be the best game ever made.
In a way, this game almost acts as sort of a soft reboot of Shadow, in a way. I feel like the final boss being essentially Shadow the Hedgehog's final boss, but much better, and having the same kind of plot line, but a lot better now that because Maria and Gerald are there to experience the plot, and they're not just a background element that Shadow's remembering. I don't know, this feels like it basically is a better version of Shadow the Hedgehog in its entirety.
I would argue, though, like, if they were to remake or at least develop a sequel for it, as contentious as it might be for some, you need the weapons.
I don't think you necessarily need weapons.
No, because here's the thing for me personally, is I thought the weapons in Shadow the Hedgehog were just fine. Most of my issues with the base game was control, and the mission stuff, and all that, and like the disjointed story and how it was delivered. But the weapon aspect of it, I thought was harmless. And now that we live in a day and age where we have so many Ratchet and Clank games to ape off of, or at least taking inspiration from, if you're going to make another one, I think there's no harm in just bringing back weapons.
I think that you could easily reskin them as like chaos powers, and it would also be fine.
It doesn't even need to be that, because like it just give Shadow his chaos powers and the weapons. Give him some like honest to goodness goddamn versatility, and actually do something with that branching storylines concept. And it could work. It could actually be really good. The problem with the branching storylines in Shadow the Hedgehog isn't that the idea was bad. It's that the game that they made out of the idea was bad. It's one of those things where, like, if they really put thought into how it worked, and speaking of games that would fit the modern open world Sonic idea, like Sonic 06 might, Shadow the Hedgehog might also too, if you give them some like semi-open levels in that style to explore for objectives, instead of making every level a hallway with teleporters that you have to comb from front to back over and over to find 16 MacGuffins or something, or kill all of the enemies for some reason.
The problem with Shadow the Hedgehog's level design was that it didn't feel very Sonic-y, I guess, or shadowy.
Well, yeah, I kind of touched on that with my backhanded mention of the Sky City's level design. But yeah, the level design had a tendency to be kind of bland because it was Sonic level design with a forward-facing camera that was designed to be traversed in one direction but explored in both. Which,
because you have to be able to go backwards to get the Gun Soldier 59 that you forgot to kill.
Yes.
So there's no room for any.
Not
cool
Gun Soldier 59.
the one level that actually tried to do what I suggested with openness was the most annoying level in the game with the artificial chaoses.
No, there's also that Central City level where you have to find all the bombs, which is like 100% open, which is like maybe not the worst level in the game, but top 3 worst.
It's close, yeah.
They had no idea how to implement open world level design in a Sonic game. They probably didn't have the technology for it at the time, and they were working with Sonic Heroes controls, which are terrible. So,
Yep.
And either way, it's such a stop and go game because it's like you want to go fast and you can in the neutral missions, but if you're doing anything but a neutral mission, it's stop, fight enemies, go, tiptoe, stop, tiptoe, stop, tiptoe. Like, because he has so much acceleration, you got to like really edge and tiptoe where you're going just to fight everybody.
The thing about that is that even on the neutral missions, I can't really remember any set pieces from those stages. Like,
no.
It's like, unlike with those smoother controls of the adventure games, there's no fun to be had at medium speed in Heroes or Shadow the Hedgehog. It's just not there. It doesn't happen.
Yeah.